Hello everyone, my name is Richard, that's Tom, this is Terrifying Tom, and this week we are discussing the 1994 film, The Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Chronicles. Not many people know that.
Oh, okay.
Welcome back to the show. It's been a little while, hasn't it, Tom?
It's been a while.
Yes, he likes doing that every time we say it's been a while.
Yeah, OSW. I've corrupted my mind with that, I'm afraid. Sorry.
How are you, Tom?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm very good. I'm ready to recount our tale of watching
Yeah,
with
when did we watch
it's
this?
Interview with the
It's Interview with the
not
Vampire,
a vampire, right? It's
The Vampire Chronicles.
the Vampire Chronicles. So does this mean that this was going to be like the first of a?
It's based on a series of books called
It's
Vampire Chronicles, and
yeah.
one of the books is Interview with the Vampire. So, a quick synopsis of the film: Louis de Pointe du Lac recounts his unbelievable story of eternal life to reporter Daniel Molloy. Bit of a normal sounding name there. The film stars Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Christian Slater, and Kirtsen Dunst. Big cast.
That is. I mean, they're four big names now. I would say at the time, Tom Cruise and Christian Slater probably were the two biggest. Brad Pitt was just coming through, wasn't he?
This is his breakthrough film.
This is his breakthrough.
Well, no, Thelma and Louise is his breakthrough film, which came in '92.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So this is like his first
major role. Yeah.
Major.
I don't think it was originally. It wasn't originally meant for him. It was actually originally meant for Joaquin Phoenix. Not Joaquin Phoenix. The other Phoenix.
Oh, River Phoenix.
River Phoenix. Thank you. Yeah, it was originally meant for River Phoenix.
Yep.
This role. And then obviously he passed away
just
before the film would start production. Yeah. And then they quickly replaced him with Brad Pitt, and very fortuitous for Brad Pitt, but I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have wanted it in that kind of circumstance. But
no.
But which is why the film is dedicated to River Phoenix as well. It's directed by Neil Jordan, and it was released on the 20th of January 1995. Even though it's a 1994 film, I think it was pushed back because of the whole River Phoenix thing. And that is it. We will get into all the other details a little bit later on in the podcast. But first and foremost, what did you know about this film? Have you ever seen this film before?
No, this is my first time ever seeing this film. I was aware of this film. I'm guessing it's one of the biggest films of the 90s, probably. I don't know in terms of box office, but I had heard of it before. As I mentioned before, I didn't watch like horror-based stuff when I was a kid or anything like that. So I would not have seen this film in 1994 or just after it came out. Obviously you got Tom Cruise in it, haven't you, and Brad Pitt starting up, so you would have been aware of this film. I've never seen it.
Did you have any preconceived notions going in?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was, I don't know why you chose it. I mean, it's got vampires in it, so it is like sort of horror based.
Well, coming down off of our last film, The Conjuring, I did tell you that we were going to. This one is one of the films that I do not classify as a horror film. It has horror aspects to it, but it has horror aspects to it, like
vampires.
Yeah, and there is some gore.
Yeah,
I mean, there are gore elements to it, but I mean, yeah, it has horror elements to it, like Saw has romance elements to it. Like it's like the guy's married, so and he's trying to save his wife and kids, isn't he?
Carrie Yules, whatever.
So it's like I mean, would you put that in the romance section? I don't think you should put this in the horror section, personally, but it is on the IMDb horror list, top horror films of all time. Its ranking is odd, but we'll get to that later on, as we said. So we open the film with Brad Pitt in 18th century Louisiana, New Orleans. And he has lost his wife and child, I'm assuming from some sort of disease, virus, something like that, and he is wishing for death. That's not actually how we open the film, is it? That's where he is during the opening of the film. We open the film in modern day San Francisco, don't we? Yeah, where Christian Slater is sitting down to interview
him.
Brad Pitt, hence the interview with the vampire bit. And
that's what it says on the tin. This film.
Yeah,
yeah.
It is literally an interview with a vampire. Yeah, so and then we move into the New Orleans situation. So yeah, we're very much leaning into the whole immortality of vampires and everything in this film, which is becomes a big part of it moving forward. The film travels through time, basically, doesn't it? So, what did you make of the premise of the film? Actually sitting down and interviewing about. I mean, would you believe someone if they came up to you and said, "I'm a vampire"? I mean, I don't get how you get to the point of an interview anyway, because surely you just think this is a crazy man.
Yeah, that's what I'd think, isn't it?
So he's a journalist. He's obviously looking for a story.
I'm assuming he was given money for this interview, right? Otherwise, why would he agree to interview Brad Pitt or some guy who comes up to you and goes, "I'm a vampire. Can I?" You wouldn't do that unless he offered you a lot of cash.
Well, I think you're led to believe that Brad Pitt is about to eat Christian Slater off camera before the interview, because he says in that's why I followed you into that alley tonight and stuff like that. So I'm assuming the whole setup is that Brad Pitt is about to eviscerate Christian Slater. And then Christian Slater's like, "Wait, I'm a journalist. I can interview you."
You're a journalist?
Oh, they taste horrible. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how you get into this situation.
Yeah, I would have liked how they got into that situation. They should do a prequel.
Yeah, that's what they should do. Yeah, all these prequels are coming out. We need a prequel to this film to see what I don't care about all the stuff like that happened in where was he during World War II? I don't care about all of that stuff. I want to know. I want a whole 2-hour long.
Where was he when JFK was shot?
Yeah, where was he? You could have saved him, but you didn't. Oh, disgusting. No, I want a 2-hour film based in that alley. Just like how the hell do you get to interviewing a?
I want to see money exchanged. So my theory is correct.
So that's what you think, yeah? You think what he offered Brad Pitt money?
Yeah, he must have offered him money. No, Brad Pitt offered him money.
But Brad Pitt was there to eat him. Why would you then go? All right, I'll pay you instead, and you can interview me.
It may be Christian Slater paid him to not eat him.
Yeah.
Money was exchanged.
There's definitely money exchanged.
Otherwise, why would they be having this interview?
It's very odd. I mean, I don't get how you would believe that this person's a vampire. Yeah, I don't.
Unless Brad Pitt took Christian Slater, not from his will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but he looks very cool and calm.
He kidnapped him.
But he looks very cool, calm, and collected. He doesn't look like he's under any undue stress. He also hasn't revealed that he is a vampire yet, and I will prove that because it comes later on in the film. So he has no proof other than this guy just telling him stories. Oh yeah, I was born in 1712. Wow, were you cool? Tell me more. Yeah, not once did he go, "You're fucking crazy.
Tell me more.
Yeah,
give some more money. What are you doing? You're at it." He's got his phone in his pocket. He's like dialed 9.
Sorry, in 1994.
Yeah, if you would have had mobile phones,
it wouldn't have been in his pocket. It would have been the size of a freaking brick, wouldn't it? Like, just fucking, he pulled it out of his suitcase.
Is there a phone near him in this film? I don't know. He's already dialed 9.
Yeah,
1. Dial that extra 1. This loan.
But yeah, so I always find that if you are a fan of the interview with the Vampire Chronicles, then yeah, please tell me why we get into that situation in the first place, because the film doesn't really set it up very well. But anyway.
I mean, this is the first time I've ever seen this film.
Yeah.
So, and the film is called Interview with a Vampire. The Vampire.
Yeah.
God, it's very confusing. Interview with the Vampire.
It is I promise you. Everyone thinks it's Interview with a Vampire. It's not. It's Interview with the Vampire.
Interview with the Vampire.
The Vampire. The.
Interview with the Vampire. Yeah, I mean, it says what it says on the tin, right? I mean, I didn't. I'm only like recollections that this film would be Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
So I don't remember seeing anything to do with Christian Slater before I watched this or anything like that. So the premise of him starting up the film interviewing Brad Pitt was a bit different.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting premise though.
Yeah.
And then obviously you go back.
And then we cut back to 18th century New Orleans, where Brad Pitt has lost his wife and child. I think it's just child. In I'm assuming like an outbreak or something like that. I'm guessing hygiene wasn't like the best in that kind of era. And he basically wants to die. He's like basically trying to will it on. He's sleeping with whores. Ladies of ill repute.
Ladies of the night.
Yeah. But not ladies of the night as this film portrays them. We get to that later. He is attacked on a drunken night out by Tom Cruise's character, who takes him up into the air lovingly as he drains him of blood. Yeah. This bit I thought was a little bit homoerotic. And then he asks him if he wants him to take his life. If should I keep going? Should I stop? And Brad Pitt tells him to stop. And then obviously he's been like I'm guessing like infected with the vampire thing that happens, because we see him like he's ill in bed after that, like with a cough, and he's really struggling. And I don't know whether that's just from the fact that he's been drained of blood, or if he's actually been infected with something, because later on there's another character that has this and he doesn't turn into a vampire or get sick. So I'm not entirely sure. We'll get to the inconsistencies in this film as we move on. But yeah, so we get the premise and we get the setup, and then Tom Cruise comes to visit him while he's in bed, and he gives him the choice that I never had.
Don't be afraid. I'm going to give you the choice I never had.
And he asks, I can, you can either become a vampire or I can kill you. Now it's up to you. And Brad Pitt decides to become a vampire.
I think everyone would make that choice, right?
I mean, if I wanted to die, why would you then make the choice to live forever?
Yeah, but you think, oh, maybe my life would be better as a vampire.
I really hate being alive now, but yeah, my life would surely be better if I was a vampire. Yeah.
Maybe.
Why?
Why would take that risk? See where it takes you.
I don't know, man. I like the idea of being able to go out whenever I want. The idea of a vampire always seems a bit odd to me. Why would you choose that? Now you are restricted to 12 hours during the day. That's it. You can't go out during the day. Whereas me now, I can go out in the night if I want to.
Just live in a very dark country like Scandinavia somewhere that's always dark.
30 Days of Night.
Always white. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you could do some research as to what is the darkest country in the world.
Yeah, I mean now, but I couldn't in 18th century New Orleans. Like.
True.
So yeah, he becomes a vampire. You get a sense that vampires see the world differently. Like the statues start coming alive and things like that. I found that very odd. Tom Cruise's character comes to live with him on his estate, his massive plantation.
Lavish.
Hence why I say I don't think he would think my life would be better if I was a vampire, because he's got a pretty good life as it is already.
Maybe he only got that life because he was a vampire.
But he didn't. He had that house already because he had the slaves, and the slaves were worried about him. Oh, by the way, Brad Pitt owns slaves in this film, but it's not a bad thing. He's a good slave owner. The slaves like him, and they're worried for him because this new man's come along, and now all of a sudden all the slaves are dying, and they're worried that he's cursed this place. It's become evil, dark, and disgusting. Brad Pitt is tormented and he's twisted and he doesn't want to take human lives.
Tormented for this whole film.
Yeah, basically that is his
he's very emo in this whole film. He really is just
constantly
whining and crying like a little bitch through the whole film. I don't want to kill people because I'm a good soul.
So he lives off of rats and chickens and birds and all these other things because he refuses to take a life.
Right, but he takes lives of those, so he's a hypocrite.
It's different, isn't it?
It's not different.
They don't have a soul.
It's hypocrisy. You want to take a life of... Basically, valuing human lives over chickens and rats and shit.
Yeah. But during this period as well, this is the first critique I want to bring up. So, the very first person that we see him starting to feast upon is the when the circus comes through. Do you remember? Or there's a play or some sort of performing arts thing.
Right.
And they are sat in the back, him and Tom Cruise are sat in the back with a woman who, I don't know whether she's supposed to be a woman of ill repute, a lady of the night, or if she's like part of the show, because she seems to be talking about the show and like, this is what we do and present. So maybe it's like her show or something. But then we get the thing that both of them are now feeding on her. And she doesn't know. Which is the first thing I always have an issue with vampires. Question. And a question for you, Tom, and a question for the audience. Why are vampires considered so sexy?
Yes. I don't know, would you say that most vampires portrayed in films are like good looking?
I mean, apart from like Nosferatu, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Because they're always like suave and like dressed smartly.
Yeah.
Maybe, possibly.
Posh accents and
Yeah.
gentlemen of fine regard. Yeah. But here's the thing, and this film is very inconsistent with this, and we'll get to it. I'm a vampire.
Are you?
Yeah. So
that.
you can interview me now. I'm a vampire. You're a woman. Yeah.
I'm not a woman.
For this
exercise, yeah. Richard, I'll go along with this.
You're taken in by my suave demeanor, and you're like,
absolutely
ooh, mysterious, and ooh, yeah. Because I'm a vampire, I ooze sex appeal. So there's this thing that apparently, like, they say that like vampires can hypnotize or something like that, and that's the thing behind it. So whatever. But I now bite into your neck, like into your jugular, to the fact that you are now bleeding profusely. Are you turned on by this?
Maybe some women are turned on by that.
By the fact of me basically murdering you?
I mean, a lot of factors. Was this woman heavily drunk or on drugs or some shit?
She didn't seem that drunk to me. She seemed very with it.
Yeah, maybe she's just like in the mood in the moment, doesn't really realise what's going on until it's too late, sort of thing.
But I don't get how you wouldn't feel someone puncturing into your neck and into your wrist, because Brad Pitt is like eating her wrist, Tom Cruise is eating her neck, so she's being drained of blood, and she's like,
yeah, she's really into it.
Good for her.
My friend should taste those lips.
Is his kiss as deep as yours? I will not take her life. I've done it for you.
But I never get why. I've never understood in any vampire thing why all of these women are so turned on by being stabbed, basically. I've never met anyone in my entire... I mean, if I was kissing your neck, then yeah, fine. You can be like, ooh, that's really nice. But the moment I bite, any kind of pressure, let alone hard enough to puncture your skin, you are no longer turned on, surely.
I'm sure a lot of women would love to be bitten in the neck by Tom Cruise. And
there is a bigger argument to this later on, that it will come up again later. Yeah. But right now, this is the first instance of it, and I still call bullshit on this. I never understood why A, vampires were considered so sexy, and B, why it was like such a turn on to be fucking stabbed in the neck. I mean, you right now, bite into your wrist. Just bite your wrist.
No, thank you.
Bite your fucking wrist.
It's going to hurt, so I'm not going to do that.
Exactly. See?
But some people will be into that. I'm not. But, whatever.
But, like, even just a little, like, it's painful,
Yeah.
I mean, let alone enough to, like, rip the skin open and the vein in order to get the blood out. I mean, have you ever had, like, a fucking like a catheter, not a catheter, the cannula. That's the one. The when you go to the hospital and you have the thing put in your vein.
Oh, yeah,
Or like
yeah.
that's not comfortable, and that's just a
No.
fucking pin.
No, I just don't think you're a very adventurous person. Really.
No, because
You're not frequenting the same places that I am. You know,
because I'm not into like having
you're getting
my neck ripped
ripped
open.
Yeah.
I've never understood this. I always thought that this was such a weird thing. But anyway, yeah. So we get in that scene. He says, "I will not take her life," and then like Tom Cruise is like, "I've already done it for you." You know. So yeah, this is where you get the whole aspect of like he's tormented. He doesn't want to take a life. He doesn't want to, even though he'll take the chickens' lives and things like that. So then he like freaks out, has his emo moment, burns his house down, goes and runs away and lives in the sewer. For I don't know how long it's supposed to have been, but yeah, he basically lives in the sewer, living off of rats. And where do we go from? Oh yeah, the plague is ravaging through New Orleans, isn't it? And he wanders through the plague part of town, and this is where he finds Kirsten Dunst for the first time, who is a little girl crying over her dead mum, who is very clearly dead. Like, I mean, I get like trauma and stuff like that, but like,
Yeah, I mean, some people get that, don't they? And then end up not reporting the death of that person and just.
but if like the plague cleaners have gone through there cleaning out all the bodies, I mean, would they leave a little kid just like there, just like?
Maybe they didn't see them.
But anyway, the whole point is that Brad Pitt ends up feeding on Kirsten Dunst.
Like a pedo vampire.
So he won't take a life, but the first one he's willing to take is a little girl.
How old was Kirsten Dunst at this point?
I don't know how old Kirsten Dunst is, but she couldn't have been that old. 10, maybe max.
I'm sure we talked about this when we were watching it. But how old was she when she did Spider-Man, the first one? I imagine she's like 11, 12, 13, something like that. Yeah.
I wouldn't even say she was old as 13.
I don't know.
I think she's prepubescent. I'd say max 11.
Okay. Well, you have to do your research. Shall I have a look?
I don't do research.
But yeah. So this is her first big role?
Yep. This is her first major role. Yeah. I'm assuming she's probably done some like maybe some TV or something like that somewhere along the line, I guess. But this is her first big role, yeah. Yeah. So and then from here, yeah, she would go on to do Spider-Man. I'm sure some other films.
Colonel Sunshine and the Spotless Mind. Other than that, I'm not really. Can't say I've seen a lot of films. Jump into my head off the top of my head.
Big way to start though, this film, isn't it? You know. So anyway, Tom Cruise bursts in, starts mocking him for taking the little girl, but not being a pedo vampire basically.
His urges gave way.
His urges too much, so I have to find a kid. And then turns out that Brad Pitt didn't kill the Kirsten Dunst. He just made her really sick, like he did. And Tom Cruise is like, "We must turn her," and Brad's like, "No," and he's like, "Then we must kill her," and Brad's like, "No," and it's like, "Well, fucking pick one then."
Tormented.
So, and then he decides
the situation that he caused himself.
Yeah, because he was like, a pedo. Allegedly, we can't say Brad Pitt's a pedophile.
No, his character in
his character in the film. Yeah. And then Tom Cruise ends up turning Kirsten Dunst, and she becomes a vampire, and becomes vicious. From what they point out that she can't control herself. She becomes like a lethal killer, and
small people are vicious, man.
And her and Tom Cruise end up wiping out whole families of people, apparently. She becomes crazy. Then she becomes obsessed with a certain woman who has got boobies. And
yeah, I'd say this is one of the most interesting plot lines of the film, probably.
Yeah.
The fact that she's eternally a child.
Yeah. Yeah, she can't handle that. Apparently, we find out that they've been like this for like 30 years now or something like that. And she's just been this child forever. Um, and then, yeah, she starts getting obsessed with women because obviously
She can never
she
be
can
one.
never be one. And she ends up killing one of these women and keeping her with her stuffed toys, keeping this corpse in her room with all her dolls.
Yeah.
And no one smells it until they uncover her because she has a bit of a freak out. Everyone's so dramatic in this film. But yeah, she has a bit of a wobbly. She has a bit of a freak out. She ends up trying to cut her hair, and it just grows straight back. And in that moment, she makes the decision that she's going to kill Tom Cruise, the character, not
for doing this to her.
Yeah, even though Brad Pitt did it as well. How comes he
Yeah.
gets off scot-free?
Yeah.
Just because he didn't say stop being such a spoiled little brat, you little bitch. Apparently, Brad Pitt gets away with it, even though he's like totally responsible for her being in this situation in the first place.
I mean, at least she's alive. You don't want to die that young, do you? Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a vampire. Would you want to be a kid forever? I mean, that's a stupid question. Basically, because of the life that you live now, everyone wants to have the responsibility.
I know what you mean, but there's stuff you can do as an adult, which is cool. When if you're a child, you can't do it.
Like drugs,
drive a car, drugs, alcohol, driving a car.
sex,
obviously, yeah. So yeah, I get
going into movies that are rated 18.
Yeah, totally. Sorry, little guy, you can't ride this ride.
Yeah, son of a bitch. Where meanwhile, all the adults are going straight on the cool roller coaster that you'll never be
a vampire.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's all.
Health and safety, man. I can't let you on it, but I can't die. Yeah, but I can't let you on there, man. Health and safety. I'll lose my job.
Yeah, I do get it. I mean, I'd like to live forever, but not like as long as I'm rich. But
if you live forever, then you should be fucking rich because there's no excuse for not being rich by that point.
Yeah.
Learn a skill that will get you money,
I don't think. Anyway,
you'd just be working at your normal job for your whole life, wouldn't you?
What was I going to say? Yes, I get the conundrum that she's in this film. Yeah. Not easy, but then she could have been dead. So.
Or she could not have been that. I mean, she would have died probably because I'm pretty sure she probably would have contracted the plague at some point. Hanging around with her dead mum in the plague town. She probably would have died eventually from something anyway. So, but anyway, yeah, Brad Pitt gets off scot-free apparently, and only Tom Cruise gets to be killed. And she ends up killing a pair of twins, twin boys. But she convinces Tom Cruise that they are drugged. Why does she have to convince Tom Cruise that they're just drugged and unconscious and not dead? Do you remember?
I don't remember, no.
So, the rule stated in this film is you cannot drink blood after the heart stops beating. Otherwise, it will kill you. However, they do this all the time. They're so inconsistent with it. One of the fucking things, like when Brad Pitt's like freaking out, the reason he learns he can eat rat is because Tom Cruise picks up a rat, rips his throat open, and pours the blood into a glass. Now, is that not... I mean, that blood is out of the body now. The heart's not beating anymore.
No, because it's out of the body, it's fine. Did they clarify that?
No, they never clarified that.
Maybe that's it as well. But she tricks him into feasting on the boys, right?
Yeah, but then also another point is that you become a vampire by drinking the blood of a vampire. Now, surely their hearts aren't beating, right? Because they're dead. That's the whole point of vampire, right? Is they're undead. So why does that turn you into a vampire, but the other one kills you? It just seems like weird rules. It just seems like very, very odd rules. But yeah, basically, he ends up drinking the blood from one of these dead kids, and it ends up like really weakening him, and he's like dying, and then she slits his throat. And there is a lot of blood. This is one of the gory scenes of the film. There is a lot of blood. in that film. Probably more blood than a human body would contain, surely.
I do vaguely remember the blood all being all over the floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was done for more dramatic effect, right?
But now, Brad Pitt and Kirsten Dunst have got a dead body on their hands. Oh, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Dead body. They decide to dump it in the swamp.
Nice.
Never be seen again.
What a way to go, eh?
And they're going to dump it in the swamp, and they're going to leave. They're going to leave New Orleans that night. They're going
to leave right now before they fall any deeper.
That's right, yeah. Name that song. But Tom Cruise is not dead. He gets his power back.
Spoiler alert.
He gets his power back from. I mean, spoilers for all these episodes. Every film we do, spoilers.
I thought we were going to elaborate on the rest of the film before we revealed Tom Cruise is still alive.
Well, no, because he comes back.
Later on, but we got a lot.
No. He comes back in this part because he drinks on the blood of the alligators that are in the swamp. Remember?
Yeah.
He comes back and he's playing the piano.
Oh, that's when he's I get you. Yeah, sorry.
So spoilers, thank you very much. You've now spoiled it. Well, you might as well fucking tell them the rest of the film now. Yeah, you spoiled it. Yeah, spoiler alert. Tom Cruise comes back from the dead twice.
Is over 25 years old, right? So if you listen to this podcast, then you've probably seen this film, or you probably should have seen this film. To the podcast, don't blame me. My fault.
It was Gwyneth Paltrow's head in the box. Darth Vader is Luke's dad.
Spoilers. Some people haven't seen these films. It was present day.
It was Earth all along. What other spoilers can we do?
Don't kill your family. The army's coming any second.
That's a bit of a reference one, isn't it? I'm trying to go for the big ones, and you're going for like.
But it's a great.
Was that The Mist? Is it? Yeah, bloody hell. Might cover that on this show. It's probably a horror film. But yeah, so this time they set Tom Cruise alight on fire, and as New Orleans burns, they get on the boat and head over to Europe. And they spend some amount of time in Europe. I'm not sure. Trying to find other vampires like them to learn what is vampire.
I'm sure it's more darker in Europe, right?
The New Orleans, I imagine, yeah. But yeah, but then
they're searching for other vampires.
They're searching for other vampires. And you say it's darker in Europe, but then they go to like the really sunny places: Spain, Italy, France.
Yeah.
It's like, they don't go to like Scotland, Norway, Iceland, anywhere like that, But yeah, they're trying to find other vampires, and they end up finding other vampires like them eventually. And can you tell me what's going on with this whole section of the film, please, Tom? Go.
So they wind up going to some sort of play or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that in Spain?
I think it's in Italy.
It was in Italy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They go to some sort of play in a basement, right, where they're putting on this like elaborate show of vampires.
Yeah.
Kidnapping a young girl or some shit. I can't remember.
So basically, yeah, I just wanted to see if you like understood what the hell was going on in this part of the film.
I couldn't work out if there were vampires watching the show or they were actually like normal people or whatever.
So I honestly don't know. I mean, I always watched this. So basically what happens is the vampires run a theatre group and they put on plays. And this play starts off very comical. Like, so one of the vampires is playing death, apparently, but it's all funny. Like, he's killing people in like a funny way, and it's very comical. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a good man or a bad man, death will come for us all eventually. Oh, ha 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 ha. And then it takes this massive swerve, huge swerve, like
swerve, bro.
Like, they bring out an actual woman, who isn't she's not a vampire, she's not an actress, she's not part of the show. They have kidnapped this woman to eat and kill, basically, live on this stage. And the master comes out, Antonio Banderas.
It's Another big star.
Another big star, yeah. But he was, I think this is very early on in his career, though, right?
Yeah, I imagine it's before Zorro, right?
Yeah. And he comes out, he's the master of all the vampires, although we find out later that he's not the master of the vampires, but he is the master. This whole section is really confusing to me. I always found this a bit confusing. Feels like we've kind of gone into a whole other film at this point. I don't know why. But yeah, so then the master comes out and this woman's like begging for help and he's like, no one will help you, and she's like, well, please. It's like, it's okay, but it's no problem. I don't know why I'm French. I'm Antonio Banderas. I'm Spanish, not French. But anyway, I can't do a Spanish accent. But yeah, and then he's like, they end up basically murdering this woman on stage. And I don't know, I've never known if the audience are vampires.
He does have like a group of people later on in the film, doesn't he? So I don't know I can't remember if they were in the audience or not.
No, they were all the actors on the stage.
Yes.
So, I mean, the audience seem kind of shocked by it.
Yeah.
Which, if they're vampires, you would suggest they wouldn't be.
Maybe it's also a way of getting people to the theatre so they can be taken.
But the question I asked you whilst we were watching this film, which is the question that I've always asked, and I will pose to you again right now on the podcast. What do those people, if they're people, which I believe they are, I think they're general members of the public,
Yeah, I think so.
What do they think they were watching? What is that play about exactly?
Vampires, I assume, right? No?
But, like, it's a comedy initially.
Vampire / comedy.
It's a comedy
Serious.
originally, and then all of a sudden there's like murder on the stage. They don't know it's murder, I don't think. I think they think it's all part of the show. Because one of the women like stands up there like and she's like, "Take me, I am yours," and then the man on stage is like, "You wait your turn."
Good looking man, Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, but like the guy's like, "You wait your turn," like that. It is not your time yet.
The passengers suffer as you suffer.
Oh yes, Monsieur Vampire, take me. I adore you.
You wait your turn.
You know, thus suggesting that eventually you will be murdered. But yeah, these people seem very shocked and like, oh, by it all. But they stay till the end.
Very graphic for the time period.
But again, what do you think you're watching? So it's a comedy that turns into like this horror, basically.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, yeah, I don't know what you think you'd be watching. I don't understand because there doesn't seem to be a story.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we just saw that one scene, right? Didn't see much else.
Well, I mean, but you saw them putting on the performance that it was all like a comedy and everything like that, and then all of a sudden it's like, ha 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 ha, this girl will die. You know,
I don't know. Yeah,
it's like
rather strange.
Yeah, I just don't get what you'd be thinking you'd be watching if you were that audience, and why none of them would genuinely think, is this real? Like, you know,
Some of them were.
Are they actually going to kill this person? Like.
Some of them were.
And so basically, it's not gentle. Like, I mean, Antonio Banderas is all like, "Oh, sexy vampire." She's all like, like that, as he bites her neck again. And then he basically like knocks her unconscious, pretty much, and then passes her back to a group of about 10 other vampires, who then basically rip her to pieces. Basically, you see them all just like pile on her and just start, and then she's like disappeared under a pile of bodies. So they're not being gentle, I would imagine. That's probably quite a scene, right? So yeah, I don't get what
I'm thinking the audience probably still doesn't think it's real.
I just don't know. I don't know. But then, yeah, this whole section is just really confusing to me. I find it really odd. This whole section is very difficult to describe and explain, and just, yeah, bear with me. It's going to get weird. But here we have another example of the film not really following its own rules, because Antonio Banderas brings out his pet, his slave, his takeaway meal. I don't know. He basically brings out this little boy who is your mate is a human, is a little boy, and he says to Brad Pitt, he's like, please try him.
Try him.
And it's like Brad Pitt lifts up his hands, and you can see that he's got all of these bite marks all over his arms and his hands. And then Brad Pitt takes a bite out of him to like sample the blood. And here I'm saying, hang on a minute, didn't Tom Cruise bite you earlier and you almost died from like some sort of virus or infection or something? And this kid, and then you did the same thing to Kirsten Dunst. But yet this kid can be bitten over and over and over and over and over again and just be fine. I mean, he's got a weird face and he acts a bit weird. He seems like he's a bit of a mute, traumatized by all of this, I think. But he's not infected. He's not ill. He doesn't almost die. So how does the vampire thing work?
Just to say to that, I was going to say maybe he's not dead, but yeah, he probably would be. I don't know, maybe different rules. They live by different rules. I don't know. It's very strange.
Maybe it's like different vampires produce different things. I don't know.
European vampires are more sophisticated.
Yeah, we
more
know
knowledgeable
more,
than American vampires, which makes sense to me.
Americans just go off gun ho, you know, fucking. You got to know how to do it properly.
Yeah, there you go.
Then they find out the vampires. The vampire group finds out that.
What was their name? What is the name for a group of vampires?
Flock? Gang?
Or like Raven's flock?
No, ravens have owls have a parliament, don't they? Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a flock of vampires.
Ravens are.
Flock of seagulls.
Is it a murder of ravens or is it a murder of crows? I can't remember now, but one of those blackbirds, it's a murder when there's multiple of them. Right. I think it's ravens. I think it's a murder of ravens.
I only say Raven's flock because there's a wrestling faction called Raven's Flock from WCW. But I don't know if it's a flock of ravens or not. So I don't know what vampires would be. I thought it was interesting.
A gaggle of vampires.
If anyone knows, what?
A gaggle of vampires.
A gaggle. Yeah, if anyone knows, maybe listen on that. Yeah,
let us know. Anyway, the European vampires, the group of vampires, find out that Lestat, is that his name? That was his name, right?
Antonio Banderas?
No, Louis Dupont. I think Lestat was Tom Cruise's character.
Oh, well, Brad Pitt.
Yeah, they find out that Brad Pitt and Kirsten Dunst have murdered Tom Cruise, and apparently the only rule for vampires is we don't kill one of our own. So, they're in trouble now. And then there's some bullshit between Brad Pitt and Antonio Banderas. There's some bullshit going on there, and then he's like, "Oh, you're in danger now, and you need to leave." And Brad Pitt's like, "We need to leave," but then all of a sudden, Kirsten Dunst is like, "I want to turn this girl into a vampire," and Brad Pitt's like, all right, yeah, forget about that whole leaving thing. We're not in danger anymore. Fuck it, yeah, I'll turn this woman into a vampire. I don't really want to, but I guess you want it, so yeah, that's fine. So then he turns this random woman into a vampire who apparently lost her children, so she's happy to become a vampire as well. So now Kirsten Dunst has a mum and a dad, even though she's probably 50 by this point. And then the flock, gaggle, crowd, murder, a parliament, gang of vampires bust in and take them all prisoner, and and this is where you find out that Antonio Banderas isn't the leader of this group, but he is the leader of this group, but he isn't the leader of the group because he can't tell them what to do or control them or stop them or anything like that, even though he loves Brad Pitt. Did you get very strong homoerotic vibes from that?
A little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so they basically bury Brad Pitt alive and put Kirsten Dunst and this random woman that we've only just met into a room that is open to the elements. So when the sun comes overhead, they die.
Yep.
Brad Pitt gets broken out by Antonio Banderas, but not in time to save the ladies. And then Brad Pitt goes on a bit of a homicidal murderous rampage where he basically like sets the whole building alight. Antonio Banderas knows he's gonna do this, but he's like, it's cool. You know, I was getting sick of them anyway, to be honest with you.
With his place getting trashed.
Yeah, so they set this theatre, whatever it is, alight. Kill all the
theatre.
They kill all the European vampires. Antonio Banderas helps him escape with help of his pet. He's McDonald's takeaway.
Happy
Kid did not look very happy. Yeah, I wonder what the free toy is. Did he get a drink? Yeah, so him and his Happy Meal help Brad Pitt get away. And then he's like, why don't we become like partners and we travel the world together? And
that was a lot better.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. And Brad Pitt's like, I can be your hero, baby.
Yeah, I like that.
Antonio Enrique Iglesias Banderas. Yeah, so Puss in Boots helps him get away, and Puss in Boots is like, why don't you, me, Shrek, and Donkey all become a big team? Yeah, you obviously fell asleep by this point. And Brad Pitt's like, no, basically, I hate you. You suck. All of you suck. I hate all you Europeans. You're all shit. America #1, baby. And he goes back to the States
and becomes a cop with Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, and then finds his wife's head in a box.
Spoilers.
Comes back to America, just in time for cinema to be taking off, and he's happy because he gets to see the sunrise again for the first time in over 150 years.
Very emo.
And you get this montage of all these all these iconic films, and right up to like the 80s and 90s. And then you see him walking out of the cinema. I can't remember what film he watched. I can't remember.
Naked Lunch.
Yeah.
Ernest Comes to Town. Or
yes.
I don't know.
Ernest Goes to Camp.
He's
one of those big iconic films like that, you know. It's films for our times. But he gets the smell of something in the air. Something he hasn't smelt for a long time. It takes him back to what I assume is some sort of old home or something. It looks like it looks very
possibly it might be
colonial or something, isn't it?
I say newer, a new place that we've seen before in this film.
But it's run down
and
decrepit. And who is sitting in the chair? Spoilers.
Maverick.
And he says, "I'm gonna be your wingman anytime, Goose." and then Berlin plays, and it's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is alive again, and he looks very emaciated and grey and tortured, and he's still wearing the same clothes that he would have been wearing in the 1800s. How they didn't roll away, I don't know. But he gets freaked out by a helicopter because the light shines in, and he thinks, "I'm gonna die." It's like it's fake light. It's okay.
Helicopter was weird. Just showed up for that one scene and fucked off.
Thank you.
What's that about?
Why? Why does this random helicopter just shows up, shines a light into this building for a reason, obviously.
Yeah.
Sees these two guys in there and just thinks, oh, okay, and then fucks off again. It's like,
Yeah. Just for the purpose of this.
for the purpose of this scene, yeah, there is so much just why in this film. And then, yeah, we basically come up to modern day and we cut to the Christian Slater interview. Christian Slater believes everything, no evidence for any of this.
Yeah, he's quite happy.
He's just, yeah, oh my God, this is incredible.
Must pay him a lot of money, surely.
You're not clearly an insane person, like you don't have delusions and stuff. All of this must be real.
He's just in love with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I mean, he does look good in this film, though.
Oh,
I mean, he's
yeah.
a handsome bastard in this film. Yeah,
Of course.
I would be enamored with him. I'd be like, of course you're a vampire. Tell me more. But yeah, and then Christian Slater's like, I want your power. I want to be like you. And Brad Pitt's like, have you learnt nothing from what I've been telling you? The tortured soul.
Yeah.
And Christian Slater's like, no, it's not a curse. It's a gift. I love it. And then he gets the only proof that he gets. Oh no, wait, he did get proof at the beginning, didn't he? Because he shot across the room to turn the light on, didn't he? Yeah. Sorry, so he has had a clue, and then he gets the second one where Brad Pitt shoots across and holds him up by one hand in the air, and he's like, "I will kill you right now, you son of a bitch! Stop what you want! Stop what you want, you motherfucker!" He doesn't say that, but something. I'm paraphrasing. And then Christian Slater all of a sudden freaks out. Brad Pitt disappears. Christian Slater freaks the fuck out. He runs out of there, gets in his car, starts driving away. Like, whew, can't believe I got away with that. Even though literally,
was a close one.
even though 5 minutes earlier he wanted to be a vampire, but all of a sudden he's like,
he didn't want to die.
No, but then Brad Pitt wouldn't have killed him. Come on, he's been telling him this whole story about how he doesn't like taking lives and stuff like that. And then who should crop up in the back of Christian Slater's car to attack him and give him the choice that he was never given himself? Who is it, Tom? Spoilers.
What was Tom Cruise's character's name in Mission Impossible?
I
don't know. Tom Cruise shows
Mission Impossible, man.
Yeah, that's totally it. Yeah, Tom Cruise shows up
Cruise
again.
Yeah, again. This is his third comeback in this
I
film.
will not die.
So yeah, Tom Cruise gives Christian Slater the wish that he wanted just a few moments before, but yet it's played off as like some sort of terrible thing, and then we cut out, we zoom out on the Golden Gate Bridge with the all right, douchebag, with the Mustang driving across it, and then that's the end of the
rather rubbish cover of Sympathy.
Oh yes, yeah.
Guns N' Roses.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. What did you make of this film, Tom? Oh, that's a long sigh. Ooh.
It was an okay watch, but I don't think it's one that I'd go for again or anything. I don't particularly think it was a great film or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine.
Okay. So, I have a question for you. Did you find this film very pretentious?
Yeah, especially Brad Pitt, who's just whining like a bitch through the whole film, Woe is me, I'm a vampire now and I have to kill people. Oh my god, constantly whinging throughout the whole film. Yeah, a little bit pretentious.
Go on, Karen. Sorry.
Especially during the time of the film it was set at as well in the 17th century. 18th century.
And then 19th.
They're all dressed up like rather
hoi polloi.
Yeah, hoi polloi sort of. Yeah, there's a little bit pretentious. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you may have guessed by the way I described the whole sequence in Europe. I found that part to be extremely pretentious. Like I said, the bullshit conversation between Brad Pitt and Antonio Banderas. I had fuck all idea what was going on in that scene. All you got from the end of it was basically like, oh yeah, you're in danger, you might want to leave. But all the bullshit before that, it's like, what are you talking about? What is going on? Yeah, it's just really pretentious. That whole section with the European, just for me, just kind of derails the whole movie. I don't know. It just feels like I'm watching something completely different.
Yeah, I feel like obviously we said this is not like a typical horror movie, but I think this is a movie people would have seen if they're not into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's more high art sort of movie.
Yeah, it's not a horror movie. I don't class it as a horror movie at all. It's more art house. Hence why it's so freaking pretentious, this film.
Yeah, it came out in January. You said, right? So it's
January 95. Yeah,
that's right around like Oscar contention time.
yeah.
So I don't know if it was looking for that.
We'll get to that.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah. So we forgot to mention the other scene where vampires are sexy.
All scenes
Vampires are sexy, but
Yeah.
this other scene where they're in New Orleans again, the house is burnt down, and they're in a, Brad Pitt's still struggling with the mortality of it all, and he doesn't want to take a life, and Tom Cruise has got two prostitutes in the hotel room, and then basically he's already murdered one, but he plays it off as, "I think your friend cannot handle the wine," and the other woman's like,
Oh, whimsical.
and then Tom Cruise is like kissing down her neck and gets to her breasts, and she's all like, "Oh, loving it. What are you doing to me, you bad boy?" And then pulls away, and her shirt is covered in blood. Covered in blood.
Yeah.
Should we put out the light? And then put out the light.
So he has basically bitten her nipple off. He has ripped her breast wide
Areola.
open. Yeah, he has taken the whole thing, nip, areola, the whole lot. He has eaten the ravioli, and he has asked for the bill, and she is there not feeling that at all, except for extreme waves of euphoric pleasure is washing over her in that scene until the moment she looks down, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh shit, I'm in a lot of pain. Oh my god!" And then Tom Cruise can, basically moves into torturing her psychologically. He puts her in a coffin and freaks her out, and then she's like, "It's a coffin." He's like, I know," and then he breaks her neck. But the whole point is that these two women, in this instance, he's basically murdering this one woman in front of her friend, and not one point did that woman let out that there was any pain, and then he basically like devours her nipple area, and this woman's fucking loving it. I don't get why vampires are sexy and why this is all sexy, and I don't understand how this is always so pleasurable.
I just feel sorry for you, Richard, that you never experienced this kind of euphoria and sexiness and this kind of pleasure before.
I've never met Tom Cruise, unfortunately.
Clearly, you just haven't experienced this. Had the same experience that the women in this movie had.
I wish I'd had that kind of pleasure. They were fucking loving it. Just I find this film. I'm going to contradict myself in a sec, but I find this film very pretentious, really erratic with its rules of vampirism, and the whole sexualization of like being ripped apart is like, how is that sexy? But having said all that, I agree with you. I don't think this is a bad film.
I thought you were going to give a glowing review.
No, I don't think it's great. It's watchable. For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time I've seen this film since probably the late 90s, I imagine, early 2000s. I have not seen this film for probably over 20 years. And it was the first time I watched it since then, and it was still enjoyable. I think 20 years is probably the right amount of period between viewings.
Yeah, I don't really have to decide to see this film again, to be honest.
No.
No.
Okay, so let's go through some stats then. So,
I thought I was the stat man.
No, not
just for Sacked in the Morning.
just for football. Yeah. So, the film cost $60 million to make. I'm imagining a lot of that is wages. Tom Cruise probably doesn't come particularly cheap at that moment in time.
No.
I mean, we've already gone past Days of Thunder, Top Gun. We've gone past all of these films by this point. Rain Man, yeah. So he is not coming cheap. So I imagine that's where a lot of the budget went. Probably Christian Slater as well. I imagine those two are probably eating up a lot of that budget.
Yeah.
Sets, maybe, like you got to make places look like 18th century.
Costume.
Costume as well. But yeah, it is an absolute smashing success. It made $223.6 million.
Good lord.
So it is a huge success. So I don't think that they're particularly worried about that that investment that they gave. It's rated 18 though. So obviously that would have limited its market in the cinema, but didn't hurt its figures apparently.
No, I mean the star name of Tom Cruise, I'm sure carried
Pulling power, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean the curiosity of vampires as well is a draw, isn't it? That kind of dark.
I don't think this would be rated 18 now though.
I don't know. There's a lot of blood in it, and there's a bit of nudity, right? So
yeah.
For those reasons, it might do.
Maybe. But I just think I look at it now and think it's kind of tame.
I mean, we talked about The Conjuring last week. That film is scary, but there's like no blood or no gore or no nudity of any sort whatsoever. So
but it is erotic.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I've never been eroticized more. But yeah, if this film had a higher rating than The Conjuring, then I wouldn't be too surprised.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a sec. It was nominated for 2 Oscars. So, yeah, you said released for Oscar season.
Costume, set designs, shit like that?
It didn't tell me which Oscars it was down for, but I imagine, you've got to think that maybe Best Lead as well. Best Supporting. Brad Pitt.
What, whining for the whole movie?
Yeah, but that's what Oscars love, though, don't they? Like, oh, look how tormented and struggling with his emotions he is. Oh, he's a tormented soul.
I'm going to look that up after we finished, I think.
Look it up now if you want.
Best Original Score and Best Product Design.
Oh, okay.
So no, like, individual awards.
Product design.
Production design.
Okay, so we're gonna change it up a little bit for this episode because I think it might be a good idea to get your scores before I tell you actually how it comes. I think it's a better idea to I think it's a better idea to find out what you think of it before I influence you in any way with what
with yours.
Yeah, with the current market, where it is on IMDb and such. So what would you give this score out of 10? Say, all right. Also, say this is in the top. Say this is top 100 horror movies of all time. Where would you put that first of all?
We're very towards the back.
Okay.
Yeah, 90 to 100.
Okay.
Like, this is not when I think horror movies. I don't think Interview with the Vampire.
Well done. You said The Vampire.
Yeah, I made sure I got that right. You know.
And a score out of 10. 5?
Going for 5.
It's going for 5.
Straight down the middle.
Okay. So it is officially ranked 30th on the list of all-time horror movies on IMDb as of the 18th of July 2022.
What's wrong with these people?
It has a score of 7.5 stars and is rated on Rotten Tomatoes at a 64%.
That's on Tomatoes for Americans. listeners.
I will not say that.
So how much? What was the rating on Rotten Tomatoes?
64%.
That's a bit more doable than 7.5.
So it's a 7.5 out of 10, and ranked 30th overall. So I'm assuming you do not agree with
people
this.
watching. Like, it's a fine film. It's not like a classic or anything like that, or great, 30th of all time. Like, I imagine it's actually ranked above like some of the actual like horror classics, or the films that are actually held up as horror classics. Probably, I would be shocked at some of the names it's probably above.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are some below it that you would be very much like, what? It is officially ranked higher at this point in time. In July, it was ranked higher than the original Dawn of the Dead. I can tell you that for sure.
What?
But I would also point out that the remake of Dawn of the Dead was rated higher than the original Dawn of the Dead.
Because more people had seen it.
Yeah.
Because at the time it came out. But yeah, these people need to up their game on these ratings, man. Seriously. Rubbish.
Yeah, let's see if we can put a bit of a new feature in here as well.
Ooh.
Would you have made any changes to this film
Oh, any changes to the film?
as a horror film?
Maybe I would have, maybe add a little bit more horror elements to it, more, maybe. I mean, in terms of like the cast,
Mhm.
I mean, the cast is big as
Stellar, isn't
yeah,
it?
so you can't really dispute that. You've got 5 big names there, or people that would become big names. Yeah, I mean, I prefer horror movies to just be straight up horror movies more than anything. Also, it's not really a thrilling film either. It's not like a as you see thriller or something.
There's no tension in it at all, is there?
From maybe the scenes when at the end when they get kidnapped by all the actors and stuff, But
With the sunlight creeping over.
yeah,
That's right at the end.
So yeah, it doesn't really fit into the category of A, horror, or B, a horror / thriller sort of thing, like a Terminator or an Aliens or stuff like that. Yeah, so it's in a weird place for me. This film really, it doesn't really. I don't really been that interested in vampires either, so it doesn't really hold.
Yeah, vampires have never really been a thing for
No,
me.
they're not really cool thing for me compared to other monsters and stuff. I don't know.
No, I'm like you on that one. I've always thought vampires were really overrated and not very interesting, and never, like I said, I never got the whole vampire thing anyway. Because every film you ever see, it's like so sexualized, and it's just like, why are vampires so sexualized? Like, change a vampire for a wolf, like a werewolf. Now it's vicious and animalistic and gory. But as soon as I make it some sparkly, like, swooshback hair suave man, all of a sudden it's like, ooh, it's so sexy. Ooh.
If you could make it more like From Dusk Till Dawn, then I might be more interested in that.
Would you consider that's more horror, right?
Yeah, but it's got vampires in it. I was trying to think of a film with vampires in it I like, and that's probably one I can think of off the top of my head. Because that one takes that sharp turn, doesn't it? Like, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah, it's not the kind of film you were expecting, yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing,
My favourite vampire film, Blade.
Oh, yeah, Blade. Yeah, great. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, that's great. And Blade 2 is great as well. Blade 3 not so much.
No, not.
Because Triple H, isn't it?
I mean, it's just a crap film as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's not. Oh, this. No, I didn't find this film particularly interesting, really, in any aspect.
Well, I think I know the answer to this question already, but I am going to ask it. Tom, did this film terrify you?
Lord, no.
I didn't think so.
Great cast.
Yeah, great cast. Okay film. Art house film, not a horror. But next film, I am certain you are going to be very, very pleased with.
Good, I hope so.
Definitively classified as a horror film.
I hope so.
100% Richard approved horror film. It's
Toy Story.
Yeah.
What did you say? Sorry.
It's a good one.
Oh right, yeah, I hope so.
I think you're gonna like the next one. It's a very good film. So I like it as well. It's a good film. So yeah, hopefully you will join us for that episode. But in the meantime, Tom, I want to thank you for joining me again today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, sleep tight.
Hey you, did you like this? Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out our other channels. And watch our playlist. Rich T Entertainment.